The best way to learn something is to experience it. So before we dive into the content, I want you guys to experience something real quick. So I want you to remember what the front door in your house looks like. Think about that. Okay, now I want you to picture what your dream house looks like. And I want you to do it again, but this time notice where your eyes go. Picture that front door, and then picture your dream house, and your eyes should be moving in two different directions based on what you're thinking about. Now I want you to remember, what does your grandma's voice sound like? Remember your grandma's voice. Now think about what it would sound like if you went into work tomorrow and your boss told you you did a great job. And again, notice where your eyes go when you're accessing or creating those sounds in your brain. Now I want you to remember what it felt like when you were loved as a child. Maybe you had a blanket or a toy. Feel what that felt like to hold that blanket or that toy as a child. And again, your eyes should be moving differently in each one of these scenarios. This is the idea of eye accessing cues. As we access different parts of our brain, our eyes will show where we're going. Again, this is why it's so important to calibrate people to see where their eyes are going, because that's going to tell us something about the thought patterns that they're accessing, and often can tell us if they're being honest or being deceitful. So here's how it breaks down in general, right? These are not flawless, they're not perfect, but this gives us a great idea of the thought patterns people are entering into. And I drew a simple model here, and this is generally how it goes. The visual is up, the auditory is level, and then the kinesthetic and feeling states, the eyes will access downwards. Now that doesn't mean the head goes in that direction, but the eyes will access those areas. And often when someone is trying to find something to make sense, when they're confused, they'll do what's called a transderivational search. They'll go to all of the systems and see if they can find something that makes sense. Again, this happens on a subconscious level. So if I asked you something that confused you or it didn't make sense, you were trying to find it in your programs, you would access your visual recall, your visual construct, your auditory, your kinesthetic, and you wouldn't find it. Or maybe you would find it, but you'd be searching, doing a transderivational search. So that's another thing. If you're calibrating, you'll see that happen. So again, the visual is up, and generally to their left is recall. They're remembering something, and to the right is construct. And if you guys think about how we write, it's generally we write left to right. So left in the past and the right in the future. So if I was, again, picturing my front door, I would be recalling it. My eyes would probably go up and to the left as I recall what that door looks like. And then as I picture my dream house, they would probably go up and to the right as I create that image of my dream house. And again, the auditory is level. So if I'm listening, I'm trying to remember what my grandma's voice sounded like, I might be off to the left. If I wanted to project or create something in the future, auditory construct, my eyes would go to the right as I think about what my boss was going to tell me tomorrow. And then into the kinesthetic feeling states, it's generally down and to the right when I go into a feeling, how I felt down or upset, or I felt the warm feeling of a hug, or whatever I might be. As I'm feeling the internal or the external texture of something, my eyes would be going downwards to access those feelings. And then down and to the left is generally what we call auditory digital. That's our self-talk. We're having an inner dialogue. We're not constructing, we're not remembering, we're just having a dialogue with ourselves, might be down and to the left. Now, they often say that that's for right-handed people. With left-handed people, it would be the opposite. But a great thing to do is to ask people questions and to calibrate their response. Hey, do you remember the color bike you had when you were a kid? And see which direction their eyes go. And they go, yeah, I remember that. And then say, what did you do last night? And if they go up and to the right, they might be lying and making something up or creating something, because they're generally going to have patterns of how they access information in their mind. So again, eye accent cues, very powerful tool. You're going to want to calibrate with people. And I want you guys to remember, you experienced this. You noticed your eyes going into different places as you remembered. And I want you to get this really ingrained in you, because I remember I probably learned this 3 or 4 times before it actually stuck and before I could use it. So we go left to right, so left is in the past, right is in the future, generally. Visual is up, auditory is level, and then we have the kinesthetic or feeling states, and then our auditory digital, our inner dialogue down below. Now, if you guys see people eyes glaze over and they're staring off straight ahead in this blank stare, generally they're off daydreaming, again creating something visual, a visual picture, a movie, a daydream. So that's generally what we can tell by eye accessing cues. Use this in your clients, calibrate people, use this all the time. Again, in general, watch them. Remember, if you've taken my body language course, things happen in clusters. So somebody may go initially to the left, and then they may go back to the right. So you're gonna have to calibrate, see where they're accessing to determine which part of their brain, which pathways they're using.